Hey, have you ever wondered how recruiting really started or why the hiring process feels so complicated? In this episode, we're diving into the history of recruiting and breaking down the difference between recruiting, staffing, and placement. Plus, we're busting some common myths about getting hired that you've probably heard before. Whether you're job hunting or just want to understand how the system works, this episode is packed with insights to help you navigate your career much more smoothly. Welcome to the Transparent HR Podcast, where we aim to empower individuals with transparent HR insights, fostering career opportunities, and navigating workplace success for all. It's your host, Prince Tate, and you are listening to the 7th episode of this podcast. Today, I'm asking for you to do one thing for me. I'm asking you to send us any questions that you have regarding your career or workplace. Maybe you got some questions about a hiring process or trying to get hired, or what to put on your resume or application, or even how to get promoted within, or maybe some employee relation concerns that you're dealing with, that you are being investigated, or you've got some troubles, some issues with your manager. Send it to this podcast so it could be on the show. We want to talk about it because we have some really great professionals, HR professionals, who's going to give you our perspective on how you can end on top regarding any situation. So send us that question, your career question, your workplace question. Send it to us because we want to help you navigate in your career. Joining us today is the Mario Hunt. He was with us on episode number 2, and we are super excited to have him yet again with us. Welcome back to the show, Mario. How is life treating you?
Hey man, life's going good, and I'm super excited to be back on the show with you again. Thank you for having me.
Hey, look, for the first episode you was on, which was episode number 2, if you haven't listened to episode number 2, make sure you go back and listen to it. But Mario, I mean, so many people have shared so many things with me. They really enjoyed that episode. In fact, a lot of people say, you know what, that guy that you had on episode 2, I mean, y'all was hitting it. And so, I was like, I need to bring you back just by popular demand. If you look on my YouTube channel, that was the highest viewed episode. And so, look, if you haven't listened to episode number 2, make sure you go back and listen to it. But Mario, we're super glad to have you back. And guess what? I'm gonna continue to pull on you as much as I need to. I believe I could do that, right?
Anytime. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy that the people we connected with the people. And hey, thank you, man. I feel like a star. No.
HR star, HR podcast
HR rock
star.
HR
Yeah.
rock star. Yeah. I like
Well,
that.
let's get into our quote. It says, "Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will," by Susie Kessam. This quote emphasizes how self-doubt can be more damaging than failure itself. It reminds us that fear of the unknown or of making mistakes can prevent us from even trying, when failure is simply a stepping stone to growth and success. I always say you have to try it before you knock it. You don't know if you're going to fail at anything if you don't ever try. And so this is just a reminder to say, hey, go ahead and try to chase your dreams. Go ahead and try that new thing. Go ahead and try to take an adventure on something new, on something that you want to do, because if you do not do it, if you have doubt, it will kill more than your failure ever will. But not only that, failure again is a stepping stone for you to move forward and continue to be successful at whatever you're trying to do. What are your thoughts about?
Go ahead. No, you were jumping right into it.
Yeah, what's your thought about this?
I was thinking that, what I take from it is, with doubt, if you doubt yourself enough not to even try, you'll never know. But If you fail, really, you never fail. I think that every time you attempt something and it does not work out, you learn a little bit more, whether you've reached what you're trying to reach or you've accomplished what you've tried to accomplish, or if during that process you learn something different where you can go back and try again or try it a different way. So I don't really call it failure until you've given up.
Mm,
It's not failure until you've given up to me. I feel like it's
wow.
a learning experience. It's an opportunity for you to learn something, to maybe take a different approach at it, but you haven't failed until you've actually given up. Keep trying. That's
Yeah.
how I see it. But if you doubt yourself into not even trying, you'll never know. That's where you failed because you never even tried.
Man, that you look, you said it right there.
If you doubt yourself enough into not allowing you to actually try, then you'll never know. So that's where you fail because you never even tried. If you actually, if you don't succeed the first time, you haven't failed until you've given up. Just keep trying, learn from it, learn from that attempt and go back in, go for it again.
Yeah, you gotta try. And that's the biggest thing. You gotta go in. And there's always learning points, to anything that you do. There's always learning points. So learn from it, see how you can grow from it, and move forward. Mario, let's get into our discussion today. And I just want to have a conversation, right?
Of
I want
course.
us to also kind of dig a little bit more into your experience. You've been recruiting for at least 2 decades now. And
Really? At
hey,
least two
it's true.
decades.
It's true, man. I mean, 20 years, right?
Okay,
You
but at least. So that means it could be way more than 20. Okay, I'll take that. At
the bare
least 20
minimum,
years.
right? The bare
At
minimum.
least, at least.
So you've been recruiting for some good time now, and you know the different nuances and even the myths, right? So we want to learn a little bit more about that, and you as well, your experience. So tell us, how did you get into recruiting?
Actually, recruitment is my foundation of my HR experience. Way back at least 2 decades ago. Um, After I graduated from high school, I worked at a tuxedo shop. I also was in college, get a degree, and I worked overnights at Federal Express at
Mm.
nights.
Hey, I
Um,
worked there too in my undergrad.
yeah, I think everybody
Everybody in
from in
Memphis did.
Memphis started somewhere or has worked for Federal Express. I mean, it's one of the largest employers here. But yeah, I was working two jobs, going to school, and I was in school for accounting. I was tutoring one of my classmates who happened to already be in the accounting field, which is where I wanted to go.
Oh
And
wow.
she was encouraging me to apply for an accounts receivable position. I was like, I don't have any experience. She was like, no, apply. She was like, I told my leader about you. You're like the smartest person in our accounting class. And she told me to tell you to
Hmm.
apply. So I applied for the accounts payable position. Long story short, it's down to you and the temporary employee that we have.
Right.
And I'm entry level. I've never done this with any experience. Long story short, he decided to go with her, which I agree. It was the best decision. She knew the job. But he walked around to the HR manager who had a human resources recruitment assistant position. And he said, hey, I interviewed this young man. He's really, really bright. I see a bright future for him. I don't have a position for him, but I know that you have this position. If you have not made
Hmm.
a decision, I think
Yeah.
you should interview him. He did. He called me in, interviewed
Wow.
me, and he told me that story that I just told you, that he walked around and talked to him face to face. And he said, I feel the same way that he feels, and I want to offer you this position. And that's where I started, a
Wow.
recruitment assistant, HR recruitment assistant to the pilot recruiter, for a small airline. Within a few months, I've been promoted to the actual recruiter for recruiting pilots for that airline, and navigated from pilot
Wow.
recruitment to aircraft mechanic recruitment as well as flight
Hmm.
attendant. And then I moved into like a generalist role and kind of like into what's considered now as a partner role. So that was the
Yeah.
actual foundation in my start in HR, was with
Wow.
recruitment. Yeah.
So that's how you got an HR.
Yep. That's it.
Through an
Never
accounting
planned it.
class.
Never planned it.
Wow.
I knew nothing about HR at all. I didn't know it
Yeah.
existed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing how you're trying to go to school for one thing, you're trying to pursue something, and out of nowhere, God, he'll redirect you,
Yes.
right? And he'll put you right. If you would have never took that accounting class, me and you probably would have never met. Just think about that.
It was divine intervention. No. Like you said, we think we know what we want to
Hmm.
do. Sometimes we don't
Yeah,
know what we want to do, but we
yeah,
might have an ideal of what we think we're going to be in life or the things that we think are for us,
yeah.
but we never know what God has in store for us. And
No,
for me,
absolutely.
I would have never ever known that this would be the path that I have taken. But I will say it hasn't always been the easiest path, but it's definitely been worth it. And I love what I do.
Mm,
I love what I do. Yeah.
yeah,
I love
no,
my career.
absolutely. So let's dive into recruiting. So, what is recruiting? What do you all do, and how did it really develop, or how did it become a thing, a position within the workplace?
So basically, piggybacking from the first conversation that we
Hmm.
had on episode 2,
Okay.
if you think about it, they were recruiting people to work in
Right.
those warehouses.
Right.
Recruitment
Right.
really is the foundation of HR.
Mm,
It is the foundation. It goes all the way back to when they were recruiting, when those gentlemen had been sent off to war back then, and they recruited people to come and work in those warehouses. That's where it started. Same place that HR kind of started when they started recruiting to have people to work daily. And it's kind of grown, it's evolved from recruitment. You have so many different types of styles of, I wouldn't say recruitment, but um, I guess I would say forms of recruitment in the industry. From recruitment now, we've got staffing, we've got talent
hmm.
acquisition. So we've got all three
Mm.
of those, and they're all related, but still not the same. There are layers to it
Oh
all.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So a lot of people, they only think about like recruiters, and as you stated, there's different levels to it or layers to it,
Yeah.
and people think that everything is the same. Like,
Right.
it's this person that's just helping me get a job.
They just want a
Um,
job.
yeah, but as you stated, it's different. So, can you share with us what's the difference between recruiting, staffing, or staffing agency, or placement?
Okay, so basically in my definition of what I see the difference in, I've done a little bit of both.
Hmm.
More recruitment experience than actual staffing, but I have worked with professionals in staffing, and as I said, I
Hmm.
did do a little bit of that. Recruitment is more so focused on filling the need, filling that role, finding someone that can do that job. You're going to find someone that can do that job, posting positions,
Yeah.
screening applicants, scheduling interviews, but you're looking for someone that can fill a specific role. And that's kind
Mm.
of where it is. You look at that job description. Hey, does this person have 1 year of experience and a degree? Okay, they meet. Do they have any more experience that may be applicable to the role, more than what we're looking for? So you look for that specific role, and you go through the basic process of having the job description created, posting that position, looking through resumes, and scheduling interviews to get that position filled. When you look at staffing, staffing has grown, and it does have a few branches
Mhm.
itself, because you have staffing where there's kind of like staffing to fill numbers, which works really heavily in the service industry with a lot of warehouses
Mm.
where you have these
Right,
staffing companies and they fill these entry level roles
right.
immediately. You know, they
Those
got about a
warehouses.
hundred. Yeah, they got about 100 of these positions may need to be filled. You're looking for people that meet those minimums, bring them in, and most of the time they're filling those roles coming through that staffing agency as temporary
Mhm.
employees to that organization that the staffing agency have brought in. There's a contract in place between
Mm.
that agency and that institute. And whatever
Mhm.
what's in that contract is basically there is a percentage that is paid off of each person that's provided in there. And
Oh,
that company
wow.
gets a cut of that percentage. And then that employee that works through that staffing company gets their salary that they've agreed upon. Now, there's other
Right.
forms of staffing, which are like placement staffing, that
Mhm.
also has a contract with it. But sometimes it's higher level, hard to fill positions where they want to go to a specific staffing company. Um, Basic like in recruitment, in accounting, one of the biggest firms in accounting firms that's known for providing accounting professionals is Robert
Hmm.
Half. And so at Robert
It's
Half,
true.
sometimes they seek out specialized staffing
Right.
companies similar to Robert Half to look for those persons that have those hard to fill specialized skill sets. Usually
Hmm.
with a firm like that already has a reputation for having skilled,
Right.
high quality applicants that are within the accounting field. They already have
Hmm.
built relationships. They might have a pipeline, and it's still the same format most times. Sometimes it's a direct field where they will put a price and say, if we can fill this position for you, you pay us this amount and you hire this employee as an employee with you. But then sometimes they
Hmm.
have the same kind of contract as some of those really quick fills when
Yeah.
staffing is doing quick fills where, okay, we're going to provide this employee to you. This is what we're going to charge you. And then they have the agreement with the employee who's working with you,
Hmm.
either on a contract or temporarily.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember when we were both recruiting, and you actually taught me recruiting.
I
uh,
tried. Hopefully I succeeded. It looks like you're doing well. So I'm going to say I succeeded and we'll leave it there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, since then, I hadn't done recruiting since then, but I've been
Does that
able
mean I
to.
failed?
No, 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 no. But as a manager or business partner, I've been able to advise leaders as well as recruiting or talent acquisition professionals regarding processes or best practices.
Yeah.
So no, you didn't fail. But I remember, because a lot of people may not know this, recruiting or recruiters they often work for the company that you're applying for, and staffing agencies, as you stated, it's often a firm. And you mentioned Robert Half. There's other staffing firms, local staffing firms in your cities, in your countries. There's global staffing agencies as well. But what a lot of people don't know is that recruiters sometimes use staffing agencies to help fill
Yes.
positions.
Those
So
hard to
they're
fills.
not,
Yeah.
yeah, especially those hard to fill positions. As you stated, maybe you're looking for an accountant, right? And you're looking for a specific type of or skilled person. You may go to that staffing firm and utilize them to help you recruit and fill that position. But again, you stated, that firm, they're charging that organization or that recruiter uh, a percentage for acquiring that professional. And sometimes um, it's easier going that way, but sometimes it's not so easy.
Well, there's a sometimes there is a reason that you go that navigate that way, and sometimes
Right.
a reason that you don't navigate that way. And a lot of times when it comes to a recruiter working with a staffing company, it's for
Hmm.
specific reasons. Either they need a large amount of people really, really fast,
True.
and
Yeah.
staffing companies, that's what they do. As a recruiter, you're doing a little bit more working with getting the positions, the role, and developing what the role is, the job description, and all of that. And you're going through a process that's typically
Hmm.
your process.
So let me ask this question, because I think sometimes people think, okay, let me just go on Indeed, let me just go on LinkedIn and apply. Or if I know what company I want to work for, let me go to that company's website and just apply. Um, if, for example, let's just say somebody got laid off,
Right.
and we know that's been happening a lot
Unfortunately,
nowadays,
yeah. Mm.
unfortunately. So, what would you recommend someone who has specific skills, um, and they're looking for a job, but they don't know which way to go? Should they just go on Indeed and LinkedIn, or should they go to a staffing agency to help them find a position? What do you think is the best move for them to do?
I say right now we have a lot of different type of platforms, right? You
Hmm.
got Indeed, but then you got LinkedIn, which is also like a social media platform for
Right,
professionals.
right.
Um, you utilize every platform that you have where you can um
Mm,
put your skill sets, put yourself in front of someone who has the type of position that you're looking for. So for me, I wouldn't say isolate yourself to just using Indeed. Isolate yourself to just going applying directly. Network, network, network. So for me, as a professional working in HR, I love my job. I love what I do, but you always want to build those networks, those connects with people.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you're doing a great job with that through Sherm and all of the you are doing a phenomenal job, dude. Let me tell you, your name is out there. You are growing as a professional. It makes me proud, just to see
Yeah,
how you
I
are so well
appreciate it.
connected. So follow Daniel. No, but no, seriously,
No, but look,
seriously.
look, my brother, he went on LinkedIn the other day, and he's not on LinkedIn all the time, but he told me, he said, "Hey man," he said, "I've connected with you on LinkedIn, and man, you a superstar on LinkedIn." I said,
Right.
"Josh, no, I'm not."
Yeah, let me tell you, that is the thing though. That's what you want to do. You take those platforms and you
Yeah,
build a network. You don't just go and add and follow these people just to add
mm,
and follow them.
that's
Utilize those
true.
platforms and don't wait until you need it. That's the
Oh,
thing.
that's
That's
the
the
thing,
the number one
right?
thing I want to express to people. Don't wait until you need it. You need to always
Hmm.
be ahead. Not saying that you go into your career or your job thinking with a plan to leave them one day, but you
Yeah,
have to have an idea of what what you need as a professional. And sometimes when we go into these companies, it may work when you first get there, but after you get there and you develop more, you may find a place where you plateau.
it's true.
There may be a ceiling that keeps you from going where you need to go. And sometimes you have to be
Yeah.
able to um, navigate and say, hey, am I still placed to where I need to be? Am I going to get what I'm looking for within my career? So you have to always kind of stay well connected, stay
Right.
abreast of the changes within the industries, and utilize everything that you have. Don't wait until you need it. I need you to be focused on that at all times, always putting your best foot forward, always
Hmm.
thinking because
Yeah,
not sometimes it's not what you plan, but sometimes we don't get to make those choices. The company that we come in and work for now may be thriving right now, but we don't know the history of that company or not the history. We don't know the fate of that company. It's
right,
thriving
right.
now, but something may
We don't
happen.
know
The
where they're
industry may
heading.
change and you may end up in a situation where
They
you
may
may
get
end up
sold.
yeah,
Yeah.
things like that happen. So for me, always connect, always socialize yourself. Use
Right.
those platforms to socialize yourself, stay connected with other professionals that
Hmm.
are like you, that are in levels and roles and positions that one day that you would want to be in, that work in that industry.
Yeah.
Because when you need that, when you if something does happen and you are looking for employment, if you're already ahead of the game, you've already put your name out there, you've socialized well, and know people. All you have to do,
Hmm.
I saw you do this, and I thought this was great. By the way, um, one of the professionals that I used to work with was in need of a job,
Hmm.
and I saw you and a few other persons. By the time I noticed it, she found one. But
Oh wow, really?
when she put on LinkedIn, hey, I'm open to work. I've lost my job. These are some of the experiences that I have. If you know of anybody that's hiring or looking for a leader as such that's similar to me that has these skill sets, please share that information with me.
Hmm.
Please share that with them.
Yeah, I
And
see
I
that a
saw
lot.
you
Yeah.
endorse her. I
Right.
saw
Right.
another professional endorse her. And within a
Mm.
matter of a couple of weeks, she had a job.
Oh
So,
wow.
and it was all by utilizing that platform within LinkedIn and informing people, hey, I'm available. I need a
Oh wow.
job. Can you help me? And people reached out and they helped, and you were one of those persons. So don't wait, build those
Yeah.
networks so that when things like that happen, if if all it takes is posting up on social media
Hmm.
on LinkedIn and saying, hey, you guys, I'm
Yeah.
open to work. I lost my job. Is anyone
Yeah.
aware of anybody? Please pass it along. And they
Yeah.
share it. You
And
know,
just having that visibility makes a difference, right?
yeah, it's
So
huge.
when you're in need, they know, oh, this guy or this lady, they post all the time, and so I know what they're all about. So let me help them out, right? So yeah, and in other words, what you've been saying all this time is utilize every resource you could use.
Every resource that you can.
It doesn't matter if you're trying to utilize a recruiter or even connect with a recruiter on LinkedIn who may be, posting a job that you're interested in, or even going to a staffing agency like Robert have to say, hey, these are my skill sets. I'm an IT professional and I have these certifications. Please help me get a job. And they'll work with you because you're looking for a job, they're looking to place professionals. It's a win-win for everybody. And so utilize any kind of resources that you have, apply for the job, reach out to your connections, and eventually you'll find what you're looking for. You'll find your purpose and that place, that job that you're destined to be in.
Yeah, man. And utilize those organizations. SHRM, those organizations that are
Yeah.
specific to your industry,
Yeah.
join those organizations so that you can keep up with the changes in the industry, but it's
Hmm.
also a great networking tool. When they
Yeah.
have
I
those
believe
events,
so.
the event that you were just at where you received what the Excellence Award, is that what that was? The Excellence Award.
Right.
Man, it speaks highly. It speaks high of you and what you've contributed to the industry and the great works that you're doing. But just think about that
Hmm.
event that you just had and that you were a part of, and just
Right.
how many HR professionals were a part of that event.
Yeah, yeah. It
You
was
you want to be a part, yeah,
the HR the Tennessee HR conference
yeah.
that I was a part of, and actually that's where I met this young lady at, and she said, "Hey, I'm looking for a job. I'm not in HR, but I wanted to take this opportunity to come to this conference." And the conference wasn't cheap. Let me just say that.
But I'm sure it was worth it though.
Yeah, and I met her there. She posted on LinkedIn. I endorsed her because we had a good conversation and she knew like where she wanted to go after that last job. And
Hmm.
so, the biggest thing is being able to give back the best way possible. The cheapest thing I could do is share a post, right?
Right.
Reshare a post, and the professionals that know me, support me, they'll reach out. So, Mario, I want us to debunk some recruiting myths
Gotcha.
that we often hear, just to give our listeners something to consider. So, myth number one is that you need to meet 100% of the job requirements. What about that?
That's not a myth. That you need to meet those requirements, at least the minimums. So
Hmm.
there's a difference, and sometimes people get that confused. The minimums is basically what's been um, identified as the basic
Yeah.
necessities to do that job. And it also draws a line to put that barrier on who's qualified and who's not, so that you can make sure
Hmm.
that you're being fair when selecting applicants, you
Right.
know. So once you have that minimum there, that minimum qualification, that doesn't mean you have to select someone based off of them just meeting the minimums. You may have a preference. The minimum is a bachelor's degree with 1 year. But if you've got this employee that's a rock star that has a master's degree and has 10 years of experience, they fall within the range. They fall within the identification of what you think an ideal
Hmm.
employee would look like. They look like you meet with them. They
Yeah.
have those. They look like they're the best fit applicant for that role. Yeah, you always want better, but you have to have those minimum qualifications to draw that line in the sand.
Right.
To say
Right.
you have to at least have this to be capable of at least having the foundation of where we need to start with someone who could successfully fill this role
Well,
and do the job.
I think with this myth, so many times people look not just at the job requirements, but I think they look at the description, the full description, and
Mhm.
say, oh man, I don't have experience doing this, or I don't have experience doing that. Or maybe, it's a project manager position and they're requiring that you have a specific system experience, right?
Mhm.
And I think people look at that job description and they say, you know what, dang, I don't have experience in in everything that they're asking for, but they meet the minimum job requirements,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where individuals or candidates, they get a little discouraged because they feel like I have to have all of this experience that they're asking for to be the perfect candidate. And and a lot of times I don't think that's the case. But like you said, I think you have to meet at least the minimum job requirements to even be considered for the position. If we, as an HR profession, if we want to make sure that we're staying fair and equitable regarding the candidates that we put in front of hiring leaders.
And let me say this as well. Um, Sometimes just because you don't have it, as long as you meet those minimums, that doesn't put you at the bottom. Some people
Mm,
think, well, I'm sure there's way more people that have more experience than I have. I only have a year of experience.
hmm.
But that's where you turn on you.
Right. You be
When
you.
if you get that platform to sit before an interview with that team, it's not about the experience. Yeah, we know you have the minimums at this point, and we know how to ask a few questions just to see that you at least have that baseline experience that we need.
Yeah, you know
So
what you're
now
doing.
we're looking at personality. Now we're looking at fit for what we have within the organization and in the culture. Because sometimes you can find a person that has way, way more experience. They can have way more education, but they'll
Right.
come in and they just don't fit the culture. They
That's
don't have
true.
the fit for the morale. Sometimes they don't they well, not the morale, more so the culture and where the
Hmm.
company's going. They may not be a good fit. There's a difference between being more qualified and being the best fit for the position.
Mm.
And I think a
Eh,
lot of people get
Yeah.
confused with it because I hear a lot of times people come and say, "You hired him,
Hmm.
and he's only got a year of experience. I've got 20 years of experience." But with where we are going with this role, with the people that
Yeah.
he's working with, his personality, um, he may fit better with the
Yeah.
organization or even with that department and that team that he has to work with.
Hey,
There's a difference.
let me tell you this. I've been in or a part of interviewing candidates before, and I will share this. There are moments where companies are looking for individuals who really know, like, you got to know what you're doing in this position. You got to have not just the minimum qualifications, but strong qualifications for this role. And then there's other moments where they're saying, you know what, I think we can bring somebody who has the minimum experience and give them an opportunity to continue to grow. And then I think also there are moments where companies or hiring leaders are looking at, are, like you stated, are you a good fit? Do you fit the team? Yeah, you meet the qualifications, you actually exceed the qualifications, but the team interviewed you and they didn't feel like you kind of, would mix in with the team. And so I think those are some things. This leads me to the second myth that I want to go over real quick, which says recruiters always find the best candidates. Tell us about that.
That's definitely a myth. Um, Recruiters don't always find the best candidates. And
Mm,
we look for, recruiters, they want to find the best candidates, but
yeah.
sometimes the best candidates are as far as just the department over or that same department. For me, as in a recruiter role, um, you want to look at the rock stars that you already have,
Mm,
especially if you have some that have
yeah.
a a repertoire of experience. They've been in this field for 10, 15 years. They've been doing this. They've worked at a couple of other companies and they're rock stars. They fit
Mm,
the culture. They're really good. They have that experience. Most times they've worked with other people in that field, built relationships. When
yeah.
look at you and I. We work together. We're still connected right now. You meet people at work, and sometimes the people that you meet at your jobs and that you work with, they become like family. So yeah, I may have to go to another job because it may be better fitting for me. It may offer me promotion. My position may have been eliminated, and I lost my work family, but that doesn't mean that we won't continue to be connected. So if I have a rock star right here and we need someone that's similar to this rock star, you want to talk to that person. Sometimes, hey, look, I know, do you know anybody that you think that may be a good fit, someone similar to you that has the tenacity
Mm,
that you have, that's outgoing, that's a fast learner, that's going to jump right in. And then sometimes you just need a specific type of personality, high energy. Some roles you need
right.
someone high energy because you know that if they're not high energy and they're dealing with people, it's going to drain, so you have to look for a specific type of people for specific jobs sometimes. And if you have that and that person is soaring in that role, you sometimes utilize that person that you have, or sometimes the biggest resource that you have, your people. And if you got
Mm,
two or three, two or three rock stars, where else will you find rock stars? Either you find out what organizations they're attached to, the people they're attached to, but most times they're going to know other people like that, and you go and you passive recruit. And what that
hmm.
is that's find someone who may be already employed. They may even be happy where they are.
Yeah. So recruiters don't always find the best candidate.
Not always, unfortunately.
We often hear this, it's all about your network, right?
Hmm.
And knowing people sometimes is the key to that. Not only that, sometimes hiring leaders, they already know,
Hmm.
or have an idea, let me say that, of who may be a
Be
good
a good
fit
fit.
for a position, whether that's a new position or maybe somebody is leaving the
Backfilling it. Yeah.
organization and they're backfilling, right? I want to do a couple more myths really quickly, okay?
Sure. Okay.
The next one says the hiring process is quick and straightforward.
Definitely not a smooth process for a lot of companies. I think most companies, they are um working towards and always working to become better on the
Mhm.
hiring process because there's so
Right.
many different things and aspects that you have to look at when you're hiring a person. And sometimes it's more so outside of your hands than just saying, hey, this person is a good fit. But some positions require specific licensures.
Mm, right.
Some of them require certain background checks. Um, you know, there are certain things in certain jobs that you can't just hire somebody based off whether you think they're good with people. For instance,
That's true.
a nurse, you can't just go pick someone up off the street and hire them. But even if you find someone who is a nurse, sometimes the background check, because they're working with people, they're working in a hospital, it could be a life or death threatening situation that they really have to know what they're doing. And so we want to make sure that person is
Hmm.
licensed. They went through the proper
Right.
licensing.
They
And
got
so that
to.
may take a little bit
Yeah.
longer and it
It's
may
going to take a
cause a
little bit
couple of hiccups
longer.
in the road. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But when I think about this myth, no, the hiring process is not always quick.
No.
It's not always straightforward. And it depends on the role, number
Yeah.
one. It depends on the organization. And as you stated, you can find a healthcare worker, but the process for onboarding and trying to get them is going to take a little bit longer than just trying to find someone to fill a position in a warehouse, right? So you have to look at the experience level of that job, or that role that you're hiring for. And so yeah, the hiring process is not always quick. It's not always straightforward. And I've often heard stories where, like director positions and above, where they go through the hiring process for 3 to 4
3 months.
months, right?
Yeah.
Because they have to meet with other directors. They have to meet with the employees that they're going to be managing. They have to meet with maybe also other leaders they'll be supporting, and even meeting the CEO or other VP level people in those roles, right? In those positions. And so it's different for every organization, and the steps are always different on the role that you're going into as well. Okay, we got one more myth that I want to do. It says the first candidate interviewed gets the job.
That no, 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 no. That is not a guarantee. Um, Most times it's definitely not what takes place because
Hmm.
most times you want to look at a fair share of applicants before you make a decision. You don't
That's
want to.
true.
Now, if you have a rock star sometimes that comes right in and just blows it out of the water, they like literally
Right.
just blow it out of the water, and we can't pass on this applicant if we can get them, then
Hmm.
But most times, you want to vet out and make sure you look at those applicants and you take a deeper dive in specific roles, as you stated, just like higher level executive roles, C-suite roles like that. It's a process, and it's very important because these leaders are at the top. They're at the very top of that
Mm-hmm.
org, and one it's one thing to get a bad or an employee that does not fit in an employee um mid-level role, entry-level role. But it's a whole nother ball game when you bring someone in that's over an entire org of people, that's over an entire department. That one person could affect an entire department, and we can't allow
That's
a
true.
an entire department to fail, and that one person could cause that. Now, at a certain level, we could take more risk at bringing a person in and say, hey, we're not sure, but they seem to have what we need. So we'll go ahead and go with this person. But at certain levels, you have to vet it out and make sure you take every precaution that you can to pick the right person, because
Mm-hmm.
it could be detrimental to the company. You can't pick a bad CFO and not take the time to try to
Right.
reduce the risk of picking a bad CFO, because the company's finances are in their hands, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
true.
yeah, specific roles are a little bit more sensitive and high level to where you don't want to just have an interview and pick the
Pick
first
that first
candidate off that
person.
first interview for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And to kind of couple this, I think, a lot of times people think about, oh, if I apply first, they're going to see me first. In my opinion, I think, again, my opinion, I think that if you apply first for a position, you may get more visibility for the recruiter to look at your application or your resume, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be guaranteed that you get a interview and go through to be a candidate. But also, I think with the first candidate to interview gets the job, it's definitely a myth, because you have to go through and vet out the candidates that you have. In a lot of organizations, they have processes. Maybe it's a three-step process, for you to meet with the hiring manager, meet with the team that you're going to work on, and maybe also meet with the recruiter. Maybe the recruiter is going to screen you to see if you'll be a good fit for the organization, and maybe something that they're going to want to send to the manager. And so, no, again, you just because you're the first candidate to get interviewed, you're not always going to get the job. It's not always going to be guaranteed, and you have to realize that a lot of organizations, they may have a rating scale, right?
Yeah.
And so they're going to collect the interview papers and all of the data and information, and they're going to put you on a scorecard. And so it's important for organizations hiring leaders as well, to go through the candidates that the recruiter is going to send you, so that you can get the right person for the job and not just the first person.
Well,
Because
what I would say is you definitely want to try to be the first person to apply. And
try,
the reason
yeah,
why I'm saying that is not because it's going to guarantee you a job, but most times, if you at least get in there in a timely manner really
yeah,
quickly, you will be seen.
yeah, you get more
Um,
visibility.
yeah,
Yeah,
but there's so many different factors.
that's
You don't
true.
just want to apply and not put the details that's needed to show them that you have what they're looking for, or that you have more than what they're looking for.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, most times you don't get to sell yourself verbally. You don't get to sit in front of that person. So sometimes for most recruiters, you're selling yourself based off of that black and white application
That's
or
true.
that resume. So you want to be able to put what they're looking for right in their face, so that as soon as they
That's
see
true.
it, this is what I'm looking for. Because most recruiters, if they have a high load of positions, a lot of applicants, you're probably going to get a good 20 seconds to 30 seconds of them skimming through your experience. If they don't see what they're
Yeah.
looking for after they've skimmed through really quickly, they're going to move to the next one, because they're looking for a specific skill set. They're looking for those minimums and those preferences that
Hmm.
are listed
That's
for
true.
that job. So number one, you do want to apply first. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but because there's so many other aspects, but you want to apply first. You want to
Hmm.
make sure that you list those skill sets they're looking for, that it smacks them in the face as soon as they open it up, like, oh, it's right there.
Yeah.
Definitely. We're going to put
Yeah.
him in the pool. And then you want to make sure that you present yourself best if you're given the
Hmm.
opportunity to actually be screened and
Yeah.
interviewed.
Yeah, look, when I was recruiting, after you taught me, uh, one of the first things I looked at was number one, making sure you meet the minimum requirements. Because if you don't have the skill set and if you don't have the minimum requirements, then what's the point of me even forwarding you over, right?
Right.
And so that's one of the things I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, got a degree, okay. How many years of experience? Okay,
Bam. It's
I'm
there.
looking at the minimum qualifications and your experience related to that job that I'm recruiting, and so that's just and I'm gonna be honest, I don't even think I did 20 seconds. I probably did about 10, maybe 5 seconds.
You want it to be right there, because most times,
Yep,
especially if it's a position where you receive a lot of applicants, you don't have time to go looking
especially
for
if you
which.
have 100
Yeah,
candidates,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But typically what I would have done or used to do is go through the first candidates that apply. I would do that. Hey, because you were the first ones to apply. And then if there are maybe some referrals,
Yeah.
or maybe the manager has some referrals or other
Internals.
employees within the organization also looking at internal candidates, right? So it's a lot of work that recruiters do
Yeah.
to even just put somebody in front of a hiring leader to say, hey, these are some of the individuals I think you may want to interview for this role. So Mario, thank you so much for just giving us some really good insights in the recruiting world. Do you have any last insider tips or actionable advice for employees? Maybe somebody want to get or become a recruiter, or maybe someone is just trying to get some, last minute insights on how to present yourself very well in front of a recruiter for your application to move forward.
What I would say is kind of just piggyback off everything that we talked about in this
Hmm.
episode, man. Just you know, every every platform and resource that you have to where you
Yeah.
can show people and let people know that you're interested, that you have the skills, or that you're looking for skill sets. Because sometimes they'll take an entry level person, but
Hmm.
you want to use all of your resources, all of your platforms, everything that you can do to make sure that you're well connected, that you're well aware, and that you are visible to any place where there's opportunity. So you utilize that. And when you have those opportunities to um, always make sure you put your best foot forward. And it starts all the way from um, your communication, how you present yourself, but not just how you present yourself in person, but how you present yourself on your resume, how you present
Hmm.
yourself on your
Yeah,
applications. You never want to submit an incomplete application.
that's true.
You never want to submit a resume that doesn't have the details that they're looking for. We don't know that. So a lot of people nowadays say, well, I want everything to fit on one page. If you want everything to fit on one page of their resume, then you may need to create several resumes if you have experience that are
It's
applicable
true.
to several different industries. If not, take a chance on 2 pages, maybe even 3 pages, if it takes that to show them what you have, because
Yeah.
unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I'll just say this. The working market and industry now is completely different from what it used to be. You used to stay on a job for 30 years, 20 years. Now, people are not expected to be in positions in most
Yeah.
roles, not all, but no longer than 2 to 5 years. So, pres
Wow.
pre your presentation, stay well connected, and always put your best foot forward.
Man, you shared a lot of great things. Um, I hate that we have to even end this conversation, but hey, you're gonna be back. You're gonna be back on the
I'm looking
show.
forward, man. I feel like I'm a part.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like it. Yeah, I feel like I'm a part. So anytime you need me, whatever you need me for, just give me a call. I'm here.
No, absolutely. Hey, before we get out of here, I love to encourage someone that's listening with a Bible verse and scripture. Today, we have Proverbs 16:3, and it says, "Commit your works to the Lord, and your thoughts will be established." When I think about this scripture, I automatically think about faith. If you give whatever you're doing, whatever thoughts, dreams, ideas that you have, and you're praying about it, you're giving it to the Lord, saying, "Lord, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? How do you want me to do this?" The Lord, He's going to establish your thoughts so you can have the right mindset to do the right thing at the right time, at the right moment, for the right people. So be encouraged today, and let your thoughts be established in the Lord. Again, thank you everyone for listening to the Transparent HR podcast. We appreciate all of the support we've been receiving. Don't forget to submit any questions that you have for the podcast, if that's about your career, things that's going on in the workplace that you need help with. We're here to help you to navigate in your career and in the workplace. We want to see you to be successful. Also, follow us on YouTube. Want to make sure that you're subscribing, that you're looking, that you have all of the resources available that you need. Again, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.